What's your guys thoughts on the past year? Like, you have a good year?
I had a good year. Yeah. Say it again,
No,
Matt.
we're doing predictions. Yeah, predictions. That's not what I asked.
What did you ask?
I asked what your thought was on the last year. Like,
I had a great
what was
year,
your
and
year
probably
like?
one of my favorite things was moving to Miami and out of New York City.
There we go. See, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah. I appreciate that we don't live in New York anymore.
Yeah.
But you
So
want to
you
know
had a
what I
good year.
really think? Or
What?
do you just want to know like what the PC answer is?
What? I want to know what you really think. Let's hear it.
My entire idea is just I think that the virus exposed the shams of society, from various institutions to people who are completely full of shit to what ultimately is important in life. And also it really made people focus on what they wanted to do with their time. So I think it was obviously a very, very tough time for a lot of people, both economically and also the public health stuff. Some people are still feeling the effects of it, so I don't want to kind of minimize what the negative side effects of some of this are. But I do think that for a certain portion of the population, it made them refocus. It made them understand what was important to them. It made them make pretty significant life decisions, right? That ended up doing things. So whether it's moving, whether it's getting married, whether it is maybe switching jobs, maybe spending time doing something that they weren't doing before, self-improvement, whatever. I do think that that's the positive view of the last really 2 years. But at the same time, I think that there's absolute carnage in the economy. And I think that the mainstream media really hasn't covered a lot of it because it's much easier to just talk about the stock assets, right? Like, oh, stock market's up, crypto's up, whatever. But when you actually go and you look, the people who have the least amount of coverage, the people who have the kind of least amount of voice, especially on the internet, they're the people who are getting hurt the most.
Yeah.
So if you go and you actually look at a lot of this, even though we see people who are getting higher wages or hourly rates or whatever, they're still in a really, really tough situation. And so I think that that's always the kind of silent impact of these situations is that just those stories don't get covered nearly as much as oh, look at this billionaire made a bunch of money, or look at this company went public, or look at this, person who did A, B, or C, or stocks went up or whatever. We just don't talk about, what about let's use an example. What about the person who is a single mom that works 2 jobs, that even though she got a, let's say, 10% raise, her rent went up, the cost of groceries go up, and also while all that's happened, she has to deal with how the hell now my kid is at home and has to do Zoom classes, and I got to go to work, and there's other complexities that enter into life, and that story doesn't get told.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's a lot of things that I think people took for granted over the last 2 years. When you get literally, and this sounds crazy, but your kids going to school means that during that time, somebody is watching your kid, educating them, et cetera, and you can go and work or do whatever. If all of a sudden that gets taken away, well, what happens to that person? Right. And what happens if they can't work from home, if they're still required to come into work? Just that alone is a huge complexity that if that's not the situation you're in, it's easy to forget that literally millions of people, that's what they're dealing with.
Yeah.